I would like to share with you a perfume idea that I came up with a few days ago. This is original formula. It contains 11 entries, 11 materials. For quite some time, I've been thinking about perfumes and trying to understand, how do you make one? How do you go from having hundreds of materials to having something that smells good? And my theory is that it's simpler than they make it look. My theory is that you start with a core accord, the core smell, the core focus of the perfume, which is going to be the theme of the perfume. And then you add base notes, which usually are the same musks or the same woods. You add those to make it last longer. And you may want to add some top notes to make the perfume feel more alive and so like it's moving. But none of those things are necessary. You could literally just take the core accord and you would have something that smells good. But in many cases, it may feel like it's not enough, so you add the base notes and the top notes and whatever. And this is what I did here. Is my core idea was that I want to create a tobacco accord, which contains around 3 materials, this accord. And then I would add some base notes and some top notes and see what happens. Let's look at the formula. The core idea for this perfume came from 3 materials. It is tobacco furoate. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Furoate, tobacco, benzoin resinoid, and vanillin. This is not random. I chose these materials because I wanted to create a tobacco smell, and tobacco furoate, which is the material I have, it smells really weird on its own, so I had to combine it with something else to make it smell decent. And from some previous experiments, I know that when you combine tobacco furoate with benzoin resinoid and vanillin, it smells quite nice. So that's the core idea I went for. In this formula, I'm using 1% of this tobacco material because it's very strong and very harsh if you use it at large percentages. So I use 1% diluted 0.05 grams of tobacco furoate, and I combine it with 10% diluted benzoin resinoid, 0.24 grams, and 10% vanillin, 0.08 grams. This is the core smell of this perfume. This is the theme. This is what it's supposed to smell like. When you smell it, it's the thing that hits you, the thing that you smell and you're like, oh, it smells like X. In this case, this is the tobacco and benzoin. This smells good on its own. But I decided to add a couple base notes. I decided to add timber silk, 10% diluted, 0.24 grams. I decided to add 10% norlin banal, again 0.24 grams. And the reason I'm adding these is because I want to make it last longer. These are base notes. Timber silk, norlin banal, they're base notes, they're heavy notes. They're things that will hold the other molecules that want to evaporate faster. It's going to hold them and not let them go so quickly. In the same breath, I also added 10% hedione, 0.24 grams. Now, hedione is not a base note. It is supposed to make this perfume more diffusive and also give it a floral feeling, which I wanted to add some floral to this perfume, but rose would have been too much and too sweet, so I just went with the hedione. And something else I did is I added oud base. It's a very strong material, so I diluted to 1% and used 0.14 grams. The reason I added this is because on its own, the tobacco furoate and benzoin and vanillin is very sweet. And I wanted to add something real, some kind of dirt to this perfume, so I added the oud base. Otherwise, it's just so sweet and almost sickening. For the top notes, I did something that I have never done before. So I took 10% velberry, 0.1 gram. This is giving the top notes a berry feeling, it's giving a fruity feeling, and I'm combining it with 10% fructone, 0.03 grams, 10% lemon, 0.03 grams, and 1% dihydromercenol, 0.03 grams. What this is doing is it's giving this perfume a little bit of a top, a little sour berry-like top, which complements the sweet and almost sickening tobacco note. When I first made this perfume, I was only testing on the paper strips, and I couldn't smell the oud until I tried on my skin, and it was almost too late. It wasn't too late because it's the right amount, but if I added more on the paper strip without testing on my skin, it would have been too much. So just be careful and also test on your skin. Now I'm going to dip this and smell it and see what it's like after a few days. I blended this on January 1st. Now it's January 3, so it has around 2 days to macerate. Let's see, maybe the oud is more visible on the strip now. I'm gonna let the alcohol evaporate a little bit. The thing that I learned from creating this perfume is that my idea was somewhat right. You have a core accord that you want the perfume to smell like, you add base notes to make it last longer, and you add some kind of top note if you want to. You don't have to. It's not like a rule that you have to follow. And yes, it does smell like the tobacco, the benzoin. In the beginning, when you first smell it, you can smell the berry, you can smell the lemon. And when those things fade away, you're left with a core accord, which is the tobacco and benzoin, vanillin. And when those things fade away, because tobacco, it doesn't last the longest. So what you're left with is the benzoin, and the last thing you can smell is the vanillin. It lasts the longest. It is a pleasant smell. It smells like something you would find in the store. Of course, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it smells decent. I can imagine this being a perfume. If you want to practice and you have some materials, you could do what I did here. If you don't have dihydromercenol, skip it. It's a very small amount, I barely smell it. It just helps to make this feel slightly more airy, but if you don't have it, don't stress. If you don't have lemon, you could use bergamot or orange oil or any other citrus, maybe mandarin. That would actually smell really good. Or cassis base. If you don't have fructone or velberry, you're not gonna have the same berry-like smell unless you have some kind of other berry. Those materials are quite important to this smell, I would say. If you don't have norlimbanol, you can use another type of wood. And if you don't have timber silk, you can use isoe super, silvamber, and benzoin resinoid. I'm not sure if I would switch this because this is exactly the right thing to combine with tobacco in this case. But of course you can experiment. Finally, the oud base. This is another important aspect to this. Without the oud base, it doesn't smell as premium because it smells too sweet and it has no balance. It's all sweet, and the oud base is what gives it a little weight, a little premium feeling. And yeah, I don't smell the oud on the paper as much. You need to test it on skin to really feel it.